After years of being criticized for a lack of diversity, the Oscars are introducing new inclusion standards. Starting in 2024, to be eligible for the top prize of Best Picture, films must meet several diversity benchmarks. The Academy says it's aiming to encourage representation both on and off screen. Clive Nwonka joins me from Copenhagen, Denmark. He's a research fellow in film studies at the London School of Economics. Thank you so much for coming to talk about this for us. So according to some experts, the new guidelines aren't as strict as they might seem, which is a familiar theme given what you've seen in Britain before. So before I get into that, I just want to get your reaction to the announcement of this initiative. A step in the right direction or barely a step?
Well, I think it's a very clear and obvious reaction to a deeply entrenched problem regarding underrepresentation and inequality in the US film industry. I think there are very clear and acceptable reasons why one would think that it's not a particularly impactful model. Many people on social media have been saying that the standards seem too low a bar. It may not have any tangible impact on the existing forms of underrepresentation in the industry. However,
can I jump in there? Because I want to, on that note, I just want to give you some statistics here. According to the Annenberg Inclusion Initiative at the University of Southern California, for basically the main on-screen standard, 95 of the top 100 films last year would meet the standard, and in the sort of behind-the-scenes standard, 71 of the top 100 would meet it. So that suggests it doesn't go far enough. Now, the British film industry enacted diversity standards of its own a few years ago. You looked into what effect this had. So what did you find there?
Yeah, we looked at 235 films that have been made between 2016 and 19 that have all adhered to the diversity standards. And what we found is that it seems there's very healthy representation of racial and ethnic difference on screen. Half of all films actually represented race and ethnicity in some capacity on screen. We found huge disparities off screen. A black person, for instance, or an ethnic minority, was 3 times less likely to be hired in key roles off screen than other people as well. So we are seeing a big difference in the on-screen and off-screen representation of ethnic and racial difference.
That's interesting. And you know, now I don't know if the parallel is exact, but the argument that a writer made in the New York Times was saying that even though most studios could pretty much do nothing and still have most of their films qualify according to this new standard, it's still possible that this move will still spur change just by existing. Does that hold water to you?
There is a grain of truth in the idea that the standards will influence an attitudinal change. It may make directors and producers rethink their entrenched notions of who can play what role and in what capacity across film. Now, in our research, we found that particular genres had a tendency to represent people in different ways. So what we are seeing is diversity can't be seen as a universal principle. It's actually impacted by industrial variables, such as genre and certain expectations people have when they come to the screen.
What genres were particularly sort of bad?
Well, the most successful genre in the database was drama, which comprised 23% of all films in that 3-year period. But what we found is ethnic minorities were often found in secondary roles, that is, supporting roles, often not the main role itself, and storylines weren't often geared to looking into the ethnic minority experience. So even though there's representation of ethnic minorities on screen, their positions were very different than others.
All right, we only have a minute left, but this is an important question. What should be done? What do you think could help?
I think the key issue here is evaluation. Will there be mechanisms to evaluate the success of the standards in the US system every single year so you can make adjustments and changes based on trends? What kind of metrics will be used? Will it be intersectional? How will women of color, for instance, be understood within the categories of gender? These are all key things that need to be put in place to ensure that there is some kind of assessment of success year on year.
All right. Well, listen, we greatly appreciate you coming on to talk about this. Thank you so much, Clive Nwonka.
Thank you.